And how you flip it.
Hi.
Hello. We can go this way with it. That's okay. Well, you can't really see it though, can you? I need to see. What else?
Have it somewhere? How do you flip the camera?
You gotta like hit this thing. Go to more.
Right there.
Flip it.
Okay.
Flip it. Flip it.
I've never flipped it before.
I never flipped it before either. That's okay.
But
I flipped some pancakes. But
I can't flip pancakes.
I gotta be careful flipping my iPhone though. These things are like worth a lot of money, I guess. Especially if you break your contract. $9.99, $99.99. A lot of nines. Okay, so Andrew Loomis was a draftsman that developed a really kind of nice system for drawing the human head, right? And it's one that sort of works off of the concept of a sphere. And most typically when students come in, they're used to doing this frontal perspective thing where you draw like an egg shape or an upside down egg shape, and then you draw a straight line across for the eyes. You probably know what I'm talking about. And then in thirds, where the nose goes, and then where the mouth goes, right? Probably heard about this. And then you have these like other equivalencies, like where your eyebrows go, top of the ears, where your nose goes, bottom of the ears, that kind of thing. And we will be talking about facial features, but the Loomis method is more about thinking about drawing kind of from the inside out and recognizing the fact that your structure is not a flat structure, that it's a sphere, okay? And we need to get that first. So I have a little image over here, but I'm going to be demonstrating up here, okay? Now, these 50 heads that you're going to be drawing, you literally will be drawing 50 of them. And I want some frontal, but most I want 3/4, looking down, looking up, that kind of thing. Because as you get going with this, it's going to get a lot easier for you. It's a good idea to have a lot of pencil. So I just shaved out a whole bunch of this wood off of here, trying to maintain this, because you want to be able to hold your pencil out like that so that you can really go nice and smooth without thinking that your circles and things like that are going to be difficult for you to draw, okay? And I'm just using graphite and eraser today. We're going to be using really big paper to do this. If it takes more than one sheet of paper, so be it, okay? Some of these we're going to take out to actually like getting some facial features in, but not all, okay? I just want you to be good at identifying how to draw the Loomis method in terms of what we're looking at, right? So I'm going to first start with like a very simple front perspective situation. And so I'm going to go fairly large with this, and you can see that I'm holding my pencil like real loosely, because I want to see a lot of sketchiness, not sketchiness, but like I want to see a lot of line work in here so that I can tell that you're really working out the idea of this being a sphere. So think about latitude and longitude lines on a globe when you're drawing. So with a frontal perspective, you know that it's going to be a straight line across for the eyes, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm basically going to cut this in half. So if I go straight in half like that, it's going to flatten the space, right? But if I make my person looking down a little bit or looking up a little bit, I can create an ellipse here. And that's another thing that I want you to get good at. Creating that ellipse allows me to tip the head down, which allows this back of the head, like if you imagine that there was a line drawn straight across my head like this, right? As I look down, you want to imagine that wherever that line would be on the back of the head would go up a little bit. Does that make sense? Okay. So you should like think about like you could look through somebody, right? So on the sides of the head, something that a lot of people don't think about when they're doing this, and what they start with is that like upside down egg shape. And I'll be honest, I was guilty of teaching that way, like in middle school, high school, when I taught that way. What they're forgetting about is like the sides of the head. Okay, the sides of our head, like when you look at a skull, they're like totally kind of flat. In fact, they go in a little bit, right? And so we actually need to carve that off the sides. And so typically what we do for a frontal perspective is we get a couple of little ellipses on the side and imagine that you can carve that away. You notice that I'm using a lot of language, like I'm talking about sculpture a lot and its connection with drawing, because we do want to see like the reality and bring that into a drawing to work as such. These areas here are basically where the ears are framed up, okay? And then we usually will draw a line coming across here. And this is all gonna make a lot more sense when I get to 3/4, and I'll do it fairly quickly. And these are gonna be kind of like if we were wrapping that line around and then we had to go straight across like this. So this is where we're gonna frame the ears up, okay? Then what we're gonna do is we're going to go with these corners in here, and that essentially is right in here, okay? That's where our jaw begins, comes down, and comes around. So what we want to do here is we want to go ahead and bring that down. Since we decided that we're going to go with this as our brow line, this is very important that you think of this as a brow line, not an eye line. A lot of people draw the eyes way too high, right? And then to modify that, they're like, oh, I need to like make the nose longer. And then, so if you've ever had that problem, it's because you were thinking, you know, about this not being a brow line. So the eyes would actually be in this area, right? And this is very general. So this is how we're going to work things out. My symmetry line is going to go straight down because this person is looking straight at me. As this is coming down here, I want to think about how much space I have here. The bottom of this sphere, that's going to be where your nose is. Okay. So like, I'm gonna keep that as a good marker. Then what I'm going to do, depending on male or female, or you know, like the structure of the jaw, I'm going to go ahead and finish off what they call the shield. This is a shield space-based thing, right? I don't know why they called it that, I guess because it kind of looks like a shield. And then in order to complete this, seeing that maybe I need to bring that up a little bit, we're going to go ahead and come across about halfway there, okay? So it looks weird up here because this person is looking down. So you're going to see more of the top of their head, right? So let's go 3/4 of this thing. So now I'm going to go ahead, give myself a circle, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this person looking kind of like this with one eye, right? Or perhaps backwards. So let's see how I want to do that. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring an ellipse across this way. I'm going to go ahead and bring an ellipse across this way. So this ellipse then becomes my symmetry line. Okay, so this person is kind of looking up a little bit and kind of like this, right? This is going to be the brow line, okay? So I need to shave off a good deal on the side of this head right here. So this is what that's going to look like. So I'm going to carve that off right there. And then since this is the brow line, what I want to do is I want to create a straight line to indicate kind of like how that person's looking. So where this is, move over just a touch so we can look at it, right? Yeah, I'm always going to do that because I got your name wrong. This area right here and this area right here, what we want to do is we want to join those two. And that kind of shows like a little direction for that. This can also kind of help with how that person's looking too, right? So I know that the ear is going to be in this location here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and bring down this jaw shape here. Again, this is my nose area. Do I want this to probably wrap around since it's 3/4? What do you think? Probably not, right? Because I want that shield shape to go pretty much straight down. So what I'm going to do, and this would be cheekbone here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that straight down actually. And it's helpful for you at this point to perhaps erase a little bit of that off so that you don't get kind of confused with that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, well, that looks like a good place for our nose. So brow line, nose line. We're going to bring this down. We're going to bring this down. We're going to get that modified shield shape. And then we're going to cut this in half here. So that way we've got our eyes in the middle here, nose, mouth, and it's about 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. but we have that extra space for the skull that we're always missing in those drawings where we use something that's less dimensional, right? Your neck would then come out from this area. So we probably want to start including some of the features in here, right? We're going to spend a good deal of time actually working on features so that you feel like you have that under control as we're drawing through. So now, to make this a 50-head scenario, and I was asking you, so we can't really draw each other, which is what I used to do. So I want you to detail some of them, but not all of them. I actually want most of them to be variations on this design, okay? So that you're showing me that repetitively, you can do these things in just about any position, especially more the 3/4, okay? Try and looking up, try and looking to this side, you know? Profile, don't want that, because there's a totally different method for that, right? One of the best ways to do this is where you take, like, anybody ever seen those hamster wheels or whatever? You stick those little guys in. Yeah. Really great way to do this is to take like a Sharpie and draw around that, and then literally look at it in terms of how those ellipses change when you move it around. Do the same thing the other way. So the way I learned this was, I learned it from a guy who was doing tutorials online, and he took like bread dough or clay or something, and he sculpted it into a sphere, and then he started slicing certain areas of it off. Because I have a very sculptural mind, it really clicked for me then. So you kind of have to think transparently as such. I want you to try to get some features on at least 3 of these, okay? So pick a frontal, pick a 3/4. Most of the images that I've selected here would be 3/4. If you don't get the features done today, I'll be posting this on Blackboard so that you can access these. And then you're going to get the features on there the best you can, okay? I'm not looking for a fully shaded portrait at this point. What I'm looking for is, do you get the concept, right? Those of you that are at home, right, hopefully watching Zoom, if you don't have large paper to do this on, you can get it in your sketchbook, but I want 50 of them, and I want 3 of them kind of rendered out. You can look for your own imagery online if you want to, or wait until I get this posted, which would be like 6 o'clock most likely, and I can't even guarantee that. So use graphite on these things, yeah. And I'll talk about Flipgrid and how to turn stuff in if you're like quarantined at this point. So you can go ahead and stop that recording. Do you guys have any questions for any of this or not?
So we're only doing 3 of them, right?
What up?
Detailed. Only 3 of them, right? That are detailed.
Only 3 with facial features. Because on Wednesday, we're going to move beyond this and we're going to get into profile drawing. And then we're going to start using charcoal. Like we're going to go fast on this. What's up?
Should we include hair with the detailing?
Yeah. Because the hair in this situation, a lot of people forget this, right? I mean, unless they're drawing me, but like a lot of this dude's spear on his cranium, and really that doesn't include the jaw, right? So if you imagine the skull, right? When you're looking at a skull, no jaw, basically. That's what we're drawing first, and we add the jaw later. So that spear right here, if you look at it, a good deal of that is actually comprised of hair. So it's going to be covered up. A lot of people also like make the mistake of conforming that hair to the shape that they've already drawn. We want to build that off the head so it's accurate, you know. Again, unless you're drawing a ball first. So you're going to draw what you see, essentially. Any more questions out there? Golden, no? I'll do a video on Flipgrid. It's really easy to upload stuff. And I'll probably talk to you guys about that too, should you get sick or when we transfer out of here. Yeah. Okay, cool. So Wednesday, folks, you'll be bringing in your sketchbooks and your perspective drawings finished. And I'll take a look at those. So cool. Thank you, Alexis. Looks like you do have a little bit of time to get home and catch your class.
And meeting for all.
Gee, yeah.